Welcome to Spiel of Time, your favorite Wheel of Time video podcast, starring myself, Frank, Lore, Judd, and Natty. And we're going to talk about the finale of season 1 of Wheel of Time on Amazon Prime, as well as the entire series. So buckle up, spoilers abound. Uh, this last episode was, we're going to start off, I think, the normal way with our just general thoughts. I enjoyed it a lot. I feel like I wrote down a lot of negative things, but I don't really mean them. Like they're okay. I don't want to it's gonna come off sounding a lot meaner than I mean. I actually enjoyed it pretty well.
You just wanted to be negative, just to be negative.
It was just like when something is pretty good and there's like little nits to pick, you have to do it. Laura, how about you? What did you think?
I liked it. There was the thing that I was talking about, the person, place, thing, object, idea was not there, but I enjoyed it. Even without that, I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of something missing, Joe, what did you think? I think there was a line you wanted that I did not pick up on at all.
There was, yeah, no, it was hinted at, but it wasn't there. And I imagine it'll be in a future episode, but it was okay. It stuck the landing. Like I felt like episodes 4 and 5 were the ones that really were like the crux of it for me, and I'm still kind of skating on that momentum. But I liked it. There were things, and I loved the I loved the bad guy. I loved the guy who was talking to, whatever he was. I don't know how many spoilers we can say, but yeah, I liked him. I thought he was a great actor, and I liked. I don't know. I love when the villains are kind of reasonable and just make it sound.
Yeah, I like that. I think we're gonna get into that in detail in a bit. Yeah. Natty, what about you? Overall thoughts?
I am similar in that I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. It didn't like blow me over. It didn't even like leave me on like a big cliffhanger. Like like it was fine, but it felt a little flat. But it did. It's a little frustrating because like I was fine with it. And that's not high praise.
Everyone is like that. It was good. It was good. It was
so. Yeah. Going into it, I'm like, okay, the same thing that we've said, the entire season. Like they didn't have a lot of money. They spent a lot more money on this episode than the others. You could tell. Like so, going into it, I'm like, okay, they don't have a lot, and they weren't sure if this was going to be. If there's going to be another season. So everything that made it okay, was based on the fact that they didn't know if it was going to continue and the lack of money. So that's how I felt, if they had a lot more money and they knew it was going to continue, they could have done more.
I think that's an absolutely fair interpretation of what, like, that to me is logical. My two issues with that is Amazon, if they could send Bezos to the moon whatever, like they could, like, it's sort of like this is a big gamble for you. If you get a good franchisable IP, you can write checks for yourself for at least a decade, really. So this is where you would put all your money. And some of my notes, again, it's a mixed bag, but some of my notes are a budget Helm's Deep. It felt like a little cheap, quickie version, not even a quote CW version, just like almost Asylum Films Helm's Deep. Like this was the knockoff Sci-Fi Channel original Helm's Deep, where like all the CGI is clumsy and the pacing is off and the stakes are confusing. And this is the time you want to spend your money and make your hope. But I think of the four of us,
am I frozen? Are you frozen? Who's frozen?
I don't think we're frozen. So you may just be seeing us as frozen. Maybe we're moving. Okay. So I think of the four of us, I may have had my wishes come true more than the three of you. There were lines that you wanted, characters, places, things, or concepts that you wanted. All I wanted was Lan and Nynaeve to have like a good romantic moment, and I got the hell out of that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. That was the one of two highlights for this episode for me was the line Lan is giving. I will hate the man you choose, but love him if he puts a smile on your face. I'm like, this is what I want. It was super. I hit all my romance novel checkbox. I was just happy about it.
I want to add on what Larlar said, and not only did they have not knowing how if they were going to move forward and the budget stuff, but also they lost one of their main actors going into these last two episodes, and so there's things that they had to change from the books, and I'm sure it was now watching it very on the fly. And that's, I'm not going to kind of go into what it was because maybe they'll kind of tie it up in a bow next season. But I have since read, and I have a lot of confidence that moving forward, like they got greenlit for season 2 pretty quickly. And from what I've read, Amazon is thrilled with like the viewership and the numbers that they're getting. And they've kind of, I think I read somewhere that they're like, yeah, we want to see this through to the end.
Good.
Which gives me a lot of hope that now like they'll go into it with a little bit more confidence.
Yeah.
And they won't just be like, you know what, we have to give this whole budget over to the Lord of the Rings show because that's the IP that people know. They now have this thing that people are watching. So I'm hoping that they give them a lot of runway because I feel like they were a little constrained in this season.
Yeah, it took me how many episodes? 7, 8. It took me that many episodes to be like, okay, I'm okay with the things that are missing. Hashtag save Camelin or whatever. Go visit Camelin. That's fine because of the money. You know, it just. I'm hoping that they'll fix it in the next season.
Okay, yeah. I mean that. Anybody else have maybe I transitioned off money too fast. Do we have any other like theories on the budget and what could have been improved if they had deeper pockets, and is budget also the number of episodes they have? Because I don't know how many episodes are planned for season 2. If it's also 8 episodes, all the money in the world isn't going to make that
pacing.
Isn't going to fix the pacing on that.
I'd also read that another hurdle they had obviously was COVID, and that I think that they filmed sequentially.
Yeah.
And I think it was after episode 5 or something like that they shut it down, and like for months. And
wow.
So I think that kind of, I mean, like in any production, especially one as wide scope as this, that's going to mess with stuff. And so, you know, again, my hope is like, all right, we didn't blow me out of the water, but I'm hoping that like moving into season 2, like they'll get their footing and their confidence and be like, oh, people are watching this thing that we're making, and they seem to like it. Maybe there'll be less studio notes of like a love triangle or whatever, and maybe we can just do what we know the source material wants us to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very serious tonight. I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry.
It's also interesting because this is usually the part we leave to the end of the episode after we've talked about the parts of it we want to talk about. We talk about like long-term things, but I'm cool with us going through.
It's
right
the
now,
last episode.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
This is the next. Yeah.
I'm trying to confirm if we know how many episodes are in season 2, but we do not know. Oh, all right. If we ever find out, we'll post it on, I don't know, on Twitter or something. We'll let you all know as soon as we find out. But yeah, so whatever the future holds for the series, we got to talk about what the season 1 was like. Does anyone else have a highlight that they really liked about this episode that we just came out of? We talked a little bit about the villain. Does anyone want to go into more detail, Judd? Maybe about about our big bad.
He just had presence. Like as soon as he was on the screen, I knew something serious was going on. Like it just, and yeah, and we never really found out who he was or what he was, or like, and that was a choice. Hope maybe, you know, but who knows? The second, you know, the first 5 minutes of the second season, they could change that. But I was also excited by the cold opens have been really tight, and I literally like ran to my computer after I was done. I think I watched it at like 4 a.m. and messaged everybody because I was like, because one of the first things Laura said when we started was, I'd really love to see, you know, more about the Age of Legends. And I was like, you got this panning shot.
Yes, it was beautiful.
Of the wings and like all of the weird Magitech stuff that you hear about in the Age of Legends. And like, you got that really early. Like that's not mentioned till way later in the book. So it was cool. It was cool to see Luz Theron and it was nice.
Yeah. I feel like the cold opens were some of the strongest material. Like they really recognize like we have to start these things off with good stuff to
hook them in. Hook the audience in.
Yeah, but only after giving you some context. Like I feel like some folks would have made the decision to open it exactly like the book, which would have opened with a guy we didn't know killing people we didn't know and going crazy for a reason we didn't know. And I don't know if that would have had a lot, and you know, in what could have been a really costly scene. And instead we get to see his relationships a little more, which I thought was really cool. It was a cool decision. I like it. I like the cold opens have been really neat.
I think when we say pacing, it can mean two things. So they're cramming a lot of stuff in a short amount of time, and that can sometimes feel rushed and not satisfying. I think things like the relationships that don't bud until later on, Nynaeve and Lan, I of course am pretty excited about it. I think that I'm glad they didn't make me wait too long for that relationship. So the pacing there, despite being rushed, works, at least for me. Things like the cold open Judd mentioned in the beginning of this episode, the finale, if that had happened any earlier in the series, if I had found out any more about the Age of Legends earlier, it would have colored the way I had seen this entire show as like, oh, this is some sort of sci-fi fantasy world. And I don't know, it just would have been different. But it was jarring to me in a good way when I saw it at the end of this cold open, because it wasn't even until the end of that cold open that I saw flying ships, and I'm like, oh, when they say pulled back 3,000 years, they mean it. So it was the places where they've made great decisions on pacing and storytelling. I feel like I should tip the hat. We should tip the hat to that too, because only have 8 episodes and they have to build out this entire world to a point where people are compelled to keep watching. That was pretty good.
So I've found season 2. It says at least 8 episodes is what I've read.
Okay.
I want more. I would like 10, 12.
Maybe they'll break each book into 2 seasons, so there'll be like, 28 seasons.
Yeah.
One can only hope.
Oh, I'll be dead.
As long as the seasons don't necessarily mean years, I think that might be okay. If it's arcs, that could work for me. I love an erudite villain. So a villain who can explain and make you feel like I'm not quite sure if you're right or wrong.
Well, but before we even get to him, like they're in the Blight, and we get to see, you get to hear this creaking sound and everything, and then Moraine does a strange thing, and I don't feel like they really conveyed how much time they were in the Blight, because she's like, you know what, let's take a rest. It's just like, but we can't take a rest. We can't touch anything. And, it's even like his hands getting covered over in moss. And then we get that crazy shot of her standing there and the whatever spear coming through her.
I might have screamed a little bit.
I did too. I was just like,
a little bit.
Ooh,
please don't change it that much.
I took a moment, this show, it's entirely possible they're going to Sean Bean someone. They just wanted here's an unexpected death. But that was great. The Blight was so damn cool. I could set so many things in the Blight. It sparks the imagination, and I actually like the dream sequence. I like that he owned it right away. Like, doesn't matter if this is a dream or not.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
I just want to talk to you right now.
Very
Love
silver
it.
tongued. Yeah, just
Mhm.
oh, this is what you want.
Mhm.
You're not going to hurt anybody if you do this. It's fine. This is what you've always dreamed of and everything. It's a very slippery slope.
So, little spoiler, dreams are super important in the series. So I like that they set that up as very like strong, that the dream sequence, and Rand understood those dreams and all that. I like that they set that up early, because that part in the books confused the hell out of me as a young teenager, because that was just, that wasn't something that I was into, and something that was above my thought process at the time. So I like that they set that up, and maybe we'll see what happens.
Because of these books, there were a lot of bad dream sequences in my D&D games, like a lot, like a lot of a lot.
Yeah.
In a cool way. I ripped so much stuff out of these books for my weekly D&D games, and then threw the books at everyone so that I cite my sources even then. So yeah. I agree. The dreams were cool. It's nice to see that set up.
Yeah, and I like that Rand knew that it was a dream, and all that. That's important.
I think it was Rand's best episode. I mean, he was focused on the most, so you would assume. But like, I thought he really, the actor and character handled everything pretty well.
Yeah, in the past, I think I've called him vanilla and boring. And he did. There was a lot, and he did a good job. Yeah,
he stepped up. We got to see the 7 towers of Malkier, which is nice. And I thought that was a nice touch too, where he was just like, "Oh, that's ancient," and she's like, "That's like 38 years, 40 years." But
that was good. Yeah.
Yeah. Which makes sense, because when you remember back that Lan was taken out of there when he was a kid, so that's, I guess she's telling us that he's about 40 years old basically. So
well, and the fact that they were walking so much, so the time was passing before they got there, which means that in that time, the blight has moved down that much.
Right.
It's a moving, growing thing.
And everything about the blight was just beautiful. I like the strangely, I called it it almost looks like a human body, right? The trunks of that growth, kind of, if you look back at it, it's got 4 definitive limbs and a 5th, like, for a head. It looks like a starfish, like a horrible starfish or something alien, but definitely not completely sci-fi. And
Maybe
again,
that's my guy.
Maybe the great, yeah. So, and the sounds that Natty was talking about, there's a lot of cool things about the blight. I loved it.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the IMDb for season 2, and they only have the first episode up. It's called A Taste of Solitude. And for Larlar, there is a actor who is cast as a character named Elaine Trackend.
Who's that? I'm not familiar with that.
That is a young lady. Yeah, Natty. You're sarcastic.
Sorry.
Just give me a second. Yeah, and I
They're
believe the
going
hashtag.
to Camlin.
Yeah, I believe the hashtag is hashtag no sleep till guitar riff Camlin. Yeah, I think that's how it goes.
Yes.
So yeah, you're gonna get what you wanted a little.
I didn't understand.
I knew it was gonna happen.
No,
I'm done.
No, look, she's happy. Look how happy she is.
Yeah.
I didn't understand the humor that they did in the Blight when the song. Did you hear it? It was "Is you ain't or is you ain't my baby." Sorry, that was an int joke. No. I just wanted to do an int joke.
We did one earlier, and it's just.
Did we really?
Earlier in this series, we definitely did.
I can't remember last week.
Yeah, that's why we have to start these with like a last time spiel of time. People could skip recap. Yes.
sorry, everybody. I'm gonna go.
So can I talk a little bit about the battle to save Fantasy Kingdom? I don't remember the name of, and the Gap.
Valdara.
Thank you, Valdara and the Gap before Valdara. I felt it was interesting. It was it was almost impossible to not be derivative, and I don't know what the stakes were in this. They were stalling just long enough for people to survive, and then they had to get a magical MacGuffin from underneath the throne. There was a lot of stuff happening in this episode, and I gotta be honest, not all of it stuck to the wall for me. I can't pace. I know there was a magical MacGuffin that got stolen from underneath the throne. I know that there was the castle need to be kept, maybe just to keep people alive, but it felt like it had something to do with the battle at the Eye of the World, but it had no effect on the Battle of the Eye of the World. And then there was a lot of CGI explosions and
People dying.
People being used up like candles, which was kind of cool, but also
like The Witcher.
A little Witcherish. Yeah, there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
What did the people who are experienced with Wheel of Time think? Was this like an important scene that needed to happen, or what?
Yeah. It should have been done differently with my man, but that's fine. It's fine. The Green Man, I could say it now. He had the horn, but it's cool. But the horn is very important. So even though it wasn't important to the episode, it'll make sense later.
The Horn of Valir, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And there are certain people that probably should have been there who weren't there,
who maybe left the cast.
Yeah. So there's a lot that they had to put into this last episode.
So this is partially Matt issues where he wasn't present and set up.
And taking things out probably because of money. So the horn is important, but not important to this episode. Just know that they were trying to get it, and then
just remember the horn, because in 10 years when we're talking about this show, the last season, maybe it'll come back.
Maybe.
So I don't know what I think about that. I guess maybe they did a great job, because at least they attempted to tie it up. With what was happening.
They had to have it in there.
So I think if they're setting it up, sorry.
I don't remember quite in the book, because I'm only like a quarter of the way in, and that they just got out of the Two Rivers, because that's how the books are. But I don't remember exactly, but I feel like in the book they got the horn and it was like no big deal. So it was interesting thinking about it right now in this moment, that in the book it wasn't a real big deal, and in the show it wasn't really a big deal. You kind of don't know why you have it, but it's there and it's important, and you'll find out later that a lot of people like it and are looking for it.
So, I like it. So I don't know. I think like the Heron Sword, it almost feels like the Heron Sword to me, where like I could tell, not knowing the significance, it was just his father's sword at one point, but then by the end of the episode, I'm like, okay, that will be significant later on. With this horn, it's like this was not brought up in Act 1, so the fact that you spent any time on it in the final act of the season feels a little weird. But at least they attempted to tie it together, saying, "Hey, we're Dark Friends," which is still a goofy name for any bad guy. Dark Friends feels like...
Especially when the two biggest villains they've shown so far are the darkest people on the screen. Like, there's a bit of colorism going on that's a little... and I was pointed out by my wife, and otherwise I think I might have been blind to it. But I'd like to see that better. Like, just... it's a problem.
Yeah,
that's interesting. So
I'm it's an odd choice, but I get what and you're gonna have to set up the elaborate fantasy world that you're banking on,
Right.
but it wasn't helped by the fact that it looked so cheesy, right? So the graphics, the quality, Trollocs as a villain are just not compelling. If orcs aren't compelling, Trollocs are perhaps even less compelling. They just look like weregoats that are coming at you at CGI. There's a scene where and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name right now, but the person who is protecting the city, the sister who is protecting the city with her wielding companions, is making lightning bolts and striking it, and it's unintentionally hilarious because you just get like a bunch of like goat men blowing up. And there's something funny about a goat man blowing up. I'm sorry, because I don't know anything about these villains. I don't understand where they're coming from. Even when they're scaling walls, they're doing it by climbing on each other's backs because we've established nothing about them. Do they have catapults? Do they have access to weaponry? Are they just a mob of things? It just really felt like a waste of real estate. But I don't know what else they could have done in this. They needed a big action sequence for this last scene, for this last episode.
I felt like if they would have spent all the time on Rand, I would have been happy.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely would have liked to see a little bit more fencing between Rand and a person who I think is the devil. I don't know. But yeah, I think we needed an action sequence. I think we were hungry for it.
In the books, the Trollocs aren't necessarily scary. It's, for me, the Trollocs were interesting because they were also different. So it felt like they had different, not necessarily personalities, but they were, I mean, it's just a mass. It's like the orcs, but they were, the way that they were described, it was just like a mishmash of different animal parts. Mm-hmm. And Jordan explained that. And so I'm like, ooh, there's one with a goat head. Ooh, there's one with like man hands. You know, so that was
Seinfeld characters are showing up. Oh, it's the soup Nazi. Yes.
Yeah. So they were all like, and he would add that like the Trolloc attacking him had like human feet, you know, as opposed to like cloven hooves. So in the books, they're not scary unless they're like in mass.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine them being much more interesting when you have all the real estate of a page to describe them as a freak monster. But in this final battle, it just seemed a bunch of stuff.
I enjoyed the arrow slits.
Yeah, there's a lot more Trollocs. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, you.
I just enjoyed the arrow slits. I don't know why, but I felt like that. It was like, oh, that makes sense that there's a teeny, teeny, tiny slit because you see like other arrow slits in other castles and they're huge, and it's just like, oh, Trollocs can't get through those because they're big, and that's that. I don't know why I like that.
I was a little bit surprised at how what is his name, Lord Aglamar or something like that? Right?
Yeah,
the guy. His death seemed very just like meh, like meh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I listed that as one of the other unintentional comedy moments. Just I have a short sub list, just things that were funny to me just because of the way they were shot. Sorry, Laura.
No, so people who read the books, refresh my memory, he lived in the books, right?
I think
and
so.
he I don't remember. Was he like involved with someone in the books that we have already met whose background has been changed?
It's possible he lives through this. We don't know.
Maybe
I'm trying to remember.
Fear in his stomach. It's possible.
No, but so that's what I saw from that when he died. I'm like, okay, they changed this other character's backstory, so they don't need him anymore. So they'll just get rid of him. But I don't remember.
We haven't even talked about. We haven't even talked about the very, very end, where you see the Shanshan.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I yelled
Yeah.
it.
which was mentioned kind of like when Maureen was talking with her like Blue Aja Connect, and she said there a lot of ships on the Western Sea are
In the West.
disappearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we saw the Shanshan, which
Yes.
yeah,
And
I don't know.
there's a lot of stuff that they kind of showed that we can't really talk about now because it's kind of spoilery.
Right.
But I felt like there was stuff in that scene that was just like, oh,
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, and you could discuss it for what it's worth in the scene. I mean, it looked. I'll try to set the pace as a person who cannot possibly spoil something. Interesting culture. I see that they've got some weird like they're preventing some of the people from speaking. They can only weave the spells, and there are guards behind them controlling them. It's absolutely frightening and interesting, and hopefully not cringy, because it could be. It looks like it's right on the edge of possibly being cringy. Like, are these
Totally.
are these fantasy Aztecs coming over? Like, what is this? I don't know what it could be, but it feels a little weird. But there's ways of reclaiming that, and it could be fun and interesting. But the one note I put at the end of this, as cool as that scene was another unintentional comedy moment of it feels there was one kid on the shore. There was one kid.
Died.
They made a tidal wave. There was one kid.
Yeah.
If you needed to do something about that kid, it's just one kid.
Just
and there's
one.
something. It was like it was both very frightening. I keep hitting my own headphones. It's very frightening, but also like kind of overkill, because
I thought it would be
much like they were going for one kid.
Phenomenal if next season, if the opening shot, it just picks up immediately after, and that child just raises its arms, and it's the Dragon Reborn. It's not happening, but I was just like, I thought the same thing. I was just like,
that would be wild.
It's not happening. I mean, it's not the story, but I also felt bad for this child. I forgot about that. As someone who has children, I was just like, oh God.
Yeah, I can't.
I'm not ever gonna
that
let
was
them
a lot. Yeah.
go play with those people.
But it seems interesting. Like again, I like anything that they're doing to build out more of the world we're in. And maybe we're going to spend some time in other parts of the world, or with an invading force. Is that what that's what I'm thinking?
It's one of the 5 armies. No, the one thing that I noticed, people who read the books, I felt like the Seanchan had way too many clothes on. Because that's one thing that, like, he constantly, they don't wear clothes. Why would they? They're out on the boats.
Yeah.
It's
no,
like
that's a different group. Different group.
Is that a different group?
Yeah. Yep.
Different group.
Different group of nudist sailors. Got it.
Yeah.
I know, because my thing is the sun is too hot. Like, put some clothes on. But it's a different group. Okay.
A different group. So, question: do you think the Seanchan are villains or just another group of people? Because my boyfriend asked me, he's like, "Oh, is that another group of villains?" I'm like,
all right. So this is a great segue. I love compelling villains, right? I don't want just black and white and good and evil and whatever. That being said, I do tire from everything is a matter of perspective. I think that could be a little exhausting in fantasy stories, because fantasy ultimately exists for us to sort of tell ourselves something, right? It's a way of playing parables. So it could be exhausting when it happens too much. My expectation is these people on the boat, Seanchan, are rival power somewhere out there in the world, and most like pretty much every other conflict between nations, it's not really going to be good and evil. It's something else is motivating this battle, especially if this one source connects the entire world and one nation is the one that screwed it up for everyone. I can imagine some people being out there upset about it. So
that's a good point.
Come to this country to be like, stop messing with this thing that will affect us all.
I really hope that when they talk about the Seanchan, that they give more backstory. That's all I'll say. Just because it's good. It's good.
Guys, we talked about the horn and we kind of brushed over. Poor Loyal got stabbed twice.
I know.
So sad.
I think he'll be okay. He'll be okay. He has to be okay.
Frank, what are you thinking?
Who got stabbed twice? Why am I missing
Loyal, the tall Ogier.
Loyal Lord
yes,
Dump.
yes.
Loyal Lord Dump, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's gonna make it. I wasn't sure about it, but I feel like you went through a lot of trouble making up this character if all he does is give like 2 beats of backstory and walk you through the ways. That's not very fun. I know that's not great. That's meta thinking, but yeah, I think he's gonna make it. I think he may be the only one of that group that made it. I can't believe Eye Patch Guy died without doing anything cool. But he handed a pickaxe to Perrin, and I was like, Eye Patch Guy, I don't know what you're doing here, but you got big stories. Oh no, you're dead.
He might be okay too. He might pull through because he's got more stuff to do too.
He's a trooper. He's a trooper.
I'm in favor of. I like it when it's just a flesh wound. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and I think he's actually in. They mention him in the in season 2, episode 1. I think he's that actor is in the cast.
Oh, nice.
Oh wait, now hold on. That's cheating.
I'll cheat.
Cheating.
It could be a flashback, but
yeah,
it's not.
Well, if Judd can cheat about that, I'll say that the Rafe, the director, has given news on Loyal's how he's doing, and he's okay.
All right.
So
Thank God.
because I think there was such a big blowback because he's kind of a fan favorite character, I guess, and he was just like, guys, he's good, he's okay, he's hurt, but relax.
I enjoy that there are fans of the show that have not read the books but are obsessed enough to complain when their favorite character seems hurt after a war where many people died.
But also that he's only been in what, like 3 episodes? That's pretty good. Yeah.
And no one's worried about the Trollocs. They're like, what about Werepig 487? Is he okay?
I'm super worried about him.
Yeah,
I don't know about you guys.
Fan favorite. Nynaeve, I did of all the fake out deaths in this episode, Nynaeve's I actually thought might have lasted. I was surprised that we kind of got her back at the end of this.
So I need to rewatch it. Was she dead, or was she just kind of near death?
I can't
think so.
I'm not really gonna call anybody as dead except for. Did anybody actually? Yeah, I don't think of anyone as dead, but like a mortal wound. Like this character is supposed to be dead, or we're supposed to be afraid of their for their lives.
The real one power were the friends we made along the way.
Yeah.
Oh.
So just seeing her come back was like, all right, cool, that's interesting. Yeah. What were the stakes of this episode, other than the entire universe and finding out this was just the first battle?
Well, so I think that they'd never seen a force of Trollocs this large since the Trolloc Wars. Go ahead.
So that's what was interesting, is that they're basically just, like you said before, you weren't sure if they were just fighting just so the women and children could leave. Like that's basically it. Like they were just they're gonna die, you know.
Yeah.
Because they're the last ones. There's no reason for them to win. There's no way for them to win. But the problem was that the power users fought them back before it was done. You know what I mean? Like they made it too easy.
You're all way off. You're blinded by Trollocs. The real stakes are, does Rand use his white guy power to stop his lady friend from going to grad school? Those are the real stakes.
That is it.
If she doesn't go to grad school, she's not the woman I love. That's when it was like, oh wow, that was what it was. That's what if dice were hitting the table, that's what the dice were hitting the table about.
Man,
about
that was it.
Him supporting her, wanting to get her masters in one power.
You're absolutely right. The Trolloc War, or the whatever this fake Helm's Deep was. I know it was necessary because we needed an action piece, and because Rand basically makes a moral choice and says, nah, I don't want to force my loved one to be with me. And that's it. That's all there is. And I think what's slightly disappointing about this, I mean, it's cool. He does the bare minimum of a good guy stuff. Good for him. Bare minimum. But what's slightly disappointing is that we were like the entire season. About the stakes are the end of the world, right? This is, and yeah, potentially if Rand had done the selfish thing, it would have been the end of the world. But we did not. We were told, we were not shown. And I don't know. That's why I think we all came into this. That might be why many of us came into this going like, it was okay.
But so I really don't think it would have been the end of the world. It's like global warming. You know it's there and you know it's happening, but it's gonna be like in the next 20 years.
Yeah,
it's
20
fine.
years away. The Blight's gonna be there tomorrow, not today.
Val Darrell will fall, and they're gonna fall anyways. The Two Rivers isn't gonna be affected for another 10 years. It's fine. So that's
says someone who's on the Outer Banks. Also, I should point out those aren't going to be there in 20 years. So enjoy them now.
I'm aware.
We got real.
Sorry.
But that's the problem, is that he with Hit being in his mind, you know, the Dark One or whoever he was fighting is still going to be there. He just made it a little bit harder for him to come.
He literally did the bare minimum and kept the door locked a little bit.
Yes.
Did you notice when he blasted the bad guy that he was smiling? Not Rand, but Mr. Badman.
The bad guy, yeah. I'm not even sure he actually did what he thinks he did. I don't think he's lying. I don't think he's that clever. I think there's a lot of like magical MacGuffin at the end where like, oh, this quartz shouldn't be here.
And, oh wow, yeah. What was that?
They just Swindler.
Yeah,
it's Swindler. That's important.
Yeah.
So it was
everything is.
It's so
the annotated everything.
But it wasn't Angriel, right? Or was it
It's Quindler. What, the broken piece?
No, but at first, when he channeled through it, then it turned into that word that you're saying that my mouth won't do.
I don't know if that's actually the word. That's the word that's in my head.
But I don't remember what that stuff is in the future.
So it's really, really, really strong crazy glue.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very hard. It's like a concrete, but like you can't like break it.
Mithril.
So in the books,
adamantium.
That is literally the piece that is sealing the Dark One in.
Yeah.
And so the fact that it is broken means that it's weakened, which is the reason why shit's happening.
Oh, wait! I thought that was the thing that Rand channeled through. That it turned into that.
That was his little idol that was in his pocket.
That's the Angriel.
I thought that he had channeled through it so hard that it turned into that. But now I understand.
No. Muraine had that little thing in the first episode. She's getting she's getting dressed in the first step. Yeah, she has that.
That's neat.
In the books, I knew that the battle was done when the Quindular popped up. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. So that is literally a seal on the Dark One's cage.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So the fact that it's broken means that the Dark One's one step closer to being free. It's a literal cage.
So maybe he got
not. Who knows?
To use all this power, and it kind of unsettled the Quarrenber a little bit. Maybe that's what happened. Yeah.
It's that. It's
I thought it was weird when he took that crystal and put it into his Heron blade.
Vibranium.
Oh yeah, that. Sorry, I was doing Kyber crystals. Sorry.
Yeah. The unobtainium.
It's all of it.
When the flux capacitor reaches maximum flux,
Yeah.
It is. It
hits
is
the fan.
It is the strongest thing known to man.
Yeah, and I
It's
guess
not broken.
all I'm really saying with this is that I think one of the reasons why I feel unsatisfied is that the stakes in this were incredibly low on one end, and what we got out of it was sort of like, oh, okay, so it's almost a sitcom ending where things have reset to the beginning. You're like, next season it'll be the battle for the end of the universe again, but it didn't move the clock forward at all in any significant way, other than maybe Rand and Egwene's relationship. Like, that's if this were like if we had a clock on what was moving in the plot, it was just that they have now maybe gotten to the point where he's like, you need to go to grad school. That's what you want. I get it.
Oh, is Moraine okay?
Oh yeah, that's right. She's been semi-quieted, maybe
Severed.
Yeah, there's another word for it. There's a different word for it. Come on, folks. Stilled, quieted? Is it stilled or severed?
Stilled for women, gentled for men.
Gentle.
Oh
yeah,
oops. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Or was because like we got to see the same kind of web that they put on Logain, and then bad guy dude does some, and so is she who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
That's interesting. So what do we could do roses and thorns, our favorite parts, or at least or what we're expecting next or hoping for next season. You want to do a round table of that? Yeah, let's quickly cover this episode alone. What was your favorite part, and what was something you really just did not care for? Anyone want to go first?
Lar, you seem like you're
No.
there. Oh no, okay.
I have to think. I mean, I'm just happy that they made the show.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just happy that they made it and that it's somewhat not closely following, but somewhat following the books. Rereading the book, there are lines that they took word for word from the book, and that always makes me happy. Not a lot, because the book is crazy. But there were lines, and I'm like, oh shit, that was in the show. And so I appreciate that. The thing that I hate the most.
Yeah, something in this episode that you didn't care for.
This episode, the picture of Matt that just popped up, and I don't know why they had it. I don't know where he was. He was just there. I just wish that they wouldn't have had him at all, because that would have made more sense. Because the way I looked at it, I'm like, oh, is he at Faldara? Because that makes sense because of the horn. Spoilers. But then I was like, oh, or is he at Tar Valon? Like, I don't, because he was by Tar Valon. I don't know. And I just wish that they wouldn't have had that in the
it wasn't necessary,
last episode. Yeah.
Natty, you're volunteering.
Yeah, I'll go. My favorite part of this podcast is that Lar has had a glass of wine, and I am enjoying the energy a lot. And
this is the end of the bottle.
Oh, nice!
I'm on vacation.
Good for you. Holy cow! I would be asleep. Anyway, no, I enjoyed that we got to see finally Pat and Fane show up and Perrin get to be like, wait, oh, you are here, whatever. And then that Pat and Fane has the dagger, which the last time we saw it was in Tar Valon, and I don't remember. Did Moraine took it into the White Tower, right? So then how does Pat? So are we going to find out that backstory? It's kind of neat. And I also liked when all the women are weaving, and you get to see like the trickles of one power going into them. You can visibly see like not much more, and then Egwene and Nynaeve, like their flow of powers are much much bigger.
Cool. That was cool.
Yeah, I didn't like the battle in the front facing with the guys, it felt very rushed, and I just how quickly the main guy got stabbed. I was just like, well, that's a disservice. Like, he's got a cool bird thing. Like, he can't just. The last time we saw a cool bird thing like that was in Flash Gordon. Like, he should be around. So that's me.
Judd?
I liked the open with Luz Theromin Kinslayer and the as the dragon and seeing the Age of Legends. I thought that was cool. I loved seeing the bad guy kind of being super reasonable to Rand. That's always a lot of fun. I really I knew there was a problem when I think you can always say there's a problem when one of the characters is like, I don't know what to do. And like, I wanted Loyal to be like, you should ask the writers. They just left you without shit, didn't they? And then he's like, how can I help? And they were like, well, we just happen to be smashing these rocks with hammers.
And you're a big dude.
And Perrin was like, I was made for this moment. This is why I was sent here. Yes. And I was like, oh, poor Perrin. Like, this guy was given nothing. Like, you
growling
were not
all
given
his
shit.
lines.
Like, there are no wolves around. You've got no guilt.
Yeah.
I'm glad you made your peace with Egwene, and like we're fine. We were always fine. That was just shitty writing. Come here, give me a hug. and like I just felt like it, like there were parts where the bad writing was showing. It was really showing. Like and that was rough. And yeah, I don't know. When your character literally says, I don't know what to do, that's a problem.
Yeah. Him questioning the way of the leaf and then immediately stop questioning it.
Right.
What's the point of this?
Right.
And also, it may as well have been immediate with Egwene. Like, are we good? Like, yes. Of course we are. This was never an issue before.
This was terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with a negative. I think I've been writing it pretty hard, so I'm going to go with a lighthearted negative. In the subtitles, in the closed captions, for the scene where I believe Nynaeve is asking Egwene, what do you hear? And when they're talking about being a wisdom, she looks out and the subtitles read, faint, distant screaming. It was the most unintentionally hilarious thing. It's a very quiet, subdued scene. What do you hear? Faint, distant screaming. And I'm like, yep, that sounds about right. That was great, but also horrible and probably unintentionally bad. Yeah, my favorite was, I do like the touching moment between Lan and Nynaeve. I really thought it was well done. A complicated relationship. They have emotions for each other that are partially overblown because of the moment they're in. And they have a nice little heart-to-heart when they think that maybe either one of them is going to die. And I like that Nynaeve is the one who hands Lan away to find Moraine, that isn't about relying on Moraine to allow Lan in. I think that's a nice little switch of dynamic between this throuple. But yeah, in terms of next season, I'm hoping for robots. I don't know what to hope for. I have no idea where this is going. I want tighter writing. I want them to know the entire season beforehand and not just have to rush to mix things in.
Yeah.
We could do this a reverse order. Judd, what do you want?
Yeah, I would like them to go in with more confidence. I would like to see the design team be more consistent, where like things are looking good, and there were times where like one thing looked like Moraine looked great, and then the Tinkers looked like deadheads, and I was like, I would just like all of that to be kind of more even, and hope, and that's money, like that's just money, and I think we're talking about always seeing Mount Fuji in the distance because Tolkien and Game of Thrones are always going to be on our minds. The other things that those properties had is truckloads of money, and maybe Amazon will open the money vaults and let this team get at it a little bit. So yeah, I would just like to see more even-keeled writing, more even-keeled design overall, and just settle into a cool groove and make it its own thing.
All right, Natty.
So my wife and I have been rewatched. Like I've watched it a couple of times, and now we're watching it together. And she's not into any of this stuff, but is enjoying it. We're on the second episode, and it's fun watching it from her perspective. Like there's, I don't know if you guys remember, but there's a scene where they're sleeping in a cave, and Rand chokes up a bat in the middle of the night.
Yes.
But before that happens, Moraine takes Egwene outside, and Rand kind of sees them kind of go outside, and he moves outside to sleep, and she comes to lay down next to him, and he gives the line of, "Oh, I kind of moved out here to be by myself." And then she goes over to this log where Perrin is sitting, and they have a look, and then he gives her a blanket, and I was just like, "Oh, I didn't notice any of these things."
Oh,
like
neat.
they were really putting this on. But it was really fun. Like when we got to like Shadar Logoth and stuff, and she was just like, "Oh," she said, "Well, where the hell are we now?" And I was just like, because there's just like, even in this last episode, like you're just like boom, 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 boom. Like that episode had the ferry crossing and this thing at the cave, and you're in Shadow Logoth, and it's just like so much to keep up with. And I think this last episode is where they didn't have any more episodes, and they had to just cram everything in there. And so it was just like, boom, you're at the wall. Here's a horn. Oh, here's some people. You're in the thing. And so it'll be interesting to see. So all that being said, I hope that they drop anything with Perrin and Egwene, and I hope that they figure out the pacing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So basically, I think what you guys, I'm parroting what you're saying, but I took 8 minutes to do it because
I really
lame.
did expect you to have something to do with the bat, like a gag about the bat, and then I realized that's the gag about the bat. Terrible.
There's an Ozzy Osbourne joke somewhere, but
yes, write your own.
Leaving it.
I need Camlin, man.
What a surprise!
Same thing I've been saying since second episode when they just went right by it. I hope that they get enough money to do the things that they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Would love.
And you might get it in a flashback. Like there might be like, hey, what did you guys get up to during that month? And it's like, oh shit, we went to Camelin.
Yeah, I'm okay with that because it doesn't. I just need them to touch on it because there's important people that they need to see, and I'm all right with that. I just need it to happen.
Is anyone really nervous with the next season when they bring new Matt onto the screen? And like, is there any recognition of like Rand going, it's like, it's me, it's Matt Coulson, and he's like, you look different.
I think with the Shadar Logoth thing that they could probably do it easily and just like be like, oh, he's healthy now.
Get him a new coat, nice haircut.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna Don.
It'll be interesting to see. Yeah.
Let's do our final reference. They're gonna Don Cheadle it. At most.
Yeah.
They'll have Justin Hammer show up and say, "Hey, you look different." No. So this has been a lot of fun. I wonder if we're gonna get together and do season 2 of Spiel of Time. But I think you should count on it. I'm excited about this. I know that they are I think they're halfway done writing scripts actually producing, actually shooting most of season 2. I think that is what I last read. They did a lot of it already.
So that's awesome.
High hopes. This is everyone says it's the highest rated thing that Amazon Prime has done, I'm excited for it. Anytime that fantasy gets some good representation on the screen, has the potential of making better representation on the screen. So every small step to having something fun to look at and that puts the effort in of telling a modern story is a step closer to getting more of this stuff. So I'm excited. If you have anything to say about what we had to say, please leave a comment on this video and tell us what we forgot to mention. Until then, we'll see you next time when Amazon Prime's Wheel of Time comes back on the air.
We'll see you in 2022.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck.